All right. All right. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're getting a good start to the week. Today, we are walking through an introduction to Reclaim, a product walkthrough, walking through the app, the features, and how you can get started in optimizing your schedule with Reclaim.ai. If you are brand new to Reclaim, or if you are already a user that's just looking to get more out of the app, hopefully this webinar is helpful in giving you a high-level overview of what you can accomplish with Reclaim in optimizing your schedule. I'm going to share my screen and we can get started here. There is a Q&A section that you can leave any questions. I will check throughout the webinar and answer as we go. I'm going to share my screen and we can jump right in. All right. If you are new to Reclaim, Reclaim is a web app. You can sign up for free and log in through the website. Reclaim is a smart scheduling tool for Google Calendar that allows you to optimize your time blocking so you can get the most out of your week and get the most out of your time blocking as well. If you've ever tried time blocking your calendar, it's a great way to make sure that you are dedicating your limited time to your priorities and making sure that you have a perfect plan for every day. Reduces decision paralysis, allows you to reduce context switching, knowing that you are focusing your energy and time every day on what matters most on your priorities. Now, the only thing with time blocking, if you ever tried doing time blocking manually, is that it takes a lot of effort to time block your calendar. You can build out your perfect work week in Google Calendar by time blocking everything and putting in those blocks and color coding everything, but it doesn't allow for much flexibility when plans change. And if you are a busy professional, especially if you're juggling a lot of meetings on your calendar, very quickly, you can end up making time blocking more of a time sink than a productivity hack, because when change comes up, you have to play calendar Tetris to move everything around that change, and it ends up being inefficient when it should be productive. And Reclaim optimizes the entire process by automating everything that you have to do during the week. You tell Reclaim what your priorities are, what your preferences are for your scheduling time frame, what your due dates are, your deadlines, and the things that you want to get done. And Reclaim does the heavy lifting of building out your perfect weekly plan around those priorities. And when things change, Reclaim automatically adapts your calendar to those changes so that you can always stay on top of your evolving priorities. So we're going to walk through the product, walk through the features. If you've already logged in to Reclaim, this is sort of the first view that you see, which is the planner, and it is your basic overview, your calendar overview of the week ahead, or the month ahead if you wanted to look forward. Reclaim blocks out into the future so that you have a plan or structure of a plan going forward every week. In the planner view, you have this collapsible sidebar here where you have an overview of your priorities, your habits, your tasks, which we'll go over. And you obviously have your calendar view as well with everything time blocked. Your features live in this left-hand sidebar. We are going to start with habits, which is one of our most popular features, and sort of go through some of the core concepts of how Reclaim actually schedules your flexible calendar. So in the habits view, this is where all of your habits live. And habits are a great way to make time for those recurring routines that you have, whether they're work routines or personal habits that you want to keep up with. Here's where you can tell Reclaim, here are the things that I need to get done on a recurring basis. And you give Reclaim sort of a set of guidelines for how you want to schedule this habit. And Reclaim does the work of fitting it into your schedule around everything else that you have going on. And this is a great way to sort of walk through the core concepts of how Reclaim builds out your flexible schedule, and you'll see similarities throughout the other features as we sort of do a deep dive on habits. So here's just an example of what your habit page might look like. You have your high priority habits, your low priority habits here. This view is changing a little bit as we improve prioritization in Reclaim, which is very exciting. And we'll do a dedicated webinar for prioritization updates down the line here in a couple weeks. But here's sort of the habits view that you see now, where you have all of the things that you want to get done, including your personal routines like exercising, and your work routines like making time for coding or email catch-ups in the morning, so you're not constantly checking your inbox throughout the day, and anything else that you can think of that you need to have time for. We have over 100 templates based on different departments. If you wanted to see what other busy professionals are making time for, where you have sort of a expertly planned out template that's filled out that you can customize to your own preferences. And you can also build out a habit from scratch by clicking the new habit button up here. I'm going to use one of the templates today to sort of showcase what that looks like. And we're going to go for a habit that is very popular and very much sought after by professionals across the board, and that's lunch. And ironically, lunch is a pretty basic daily activity that we should all be making time for, but it's very easy for lunch to slip through the cracks when you have a busy week ahead, when meetings are constantly getting scheduled on your calendar. If you don't defend the time to take a break, to get something to eat, to reset, it's very easy for your day to get blocked over and not have any time for something like lunch. And getting it on the calendar is a great way to defend that time and make sure that you're actually prioritizing taking a midday break. So this is what the lunch template looks like. And this is the same template that you would see if you did a new habit from scratch. Here it's already sort of filled out with a guideline of details that you can customize. So you have the title for your habit here where you can add an emoji. This is how it will show on your calendar. And like I said, this is very similar to the other templates that we'll see across the other features as well. And here you have your scheduling rules. And this is sort of the core benefit of Reclaim, where instead of, for a habit like lunch, for example, scheduling a recurring event on Google Calendar at 12 p.m. for lunch every day, yeah, you have it on your calendar. It might help you take that lunch break or prevent a meeting from getting booked over at that time, but it doesn't allow, again, for that flexibility. You might have a meeting that comes up at 12 that is super important, that you're happy to move your lunch around, but you'd have to manually go in and drag your lunch block to somewhere else. And if your day books up really quickly, you might not have time for lunch that day. And Reclaim allows you to sort of give it a range of scheduling rules for it to prioritize your habit around your changing schedule. So say if a meeting does get booked at 12 or you have an important task to finish, Reclaim can move your lunch to 1 p.m. automatically around those changes in your calendar, allowing you to more consistently make time for your habits or other events around these rules automatically. So here in these scheduling rules, for example, just to walk through, we have a duration rule where, at minimum, I would like to have 30 minutes for my lunch break. At maximum, I don't need more than an hour. You can customize this to be whatever you wanted it to be, but that gives Reclaim sort of a little bit of flexibility around how it schedules your lunch break. You schedule, or you can give Reclaim your hours as to when you want this event to schedule. You have your working, meeting, and personal hours, which are the defaults or the default hours for your Reclaim account. Obviously, your working hours when you want to schedule work tasks, work habits, your meeting hours when you want to schedule your smart meetings, and then your personal hours for your personal habits or other personal tasks that you want to make time for as well. On the paid Reclaim plans, we also have additional custom hours that you can set up where you can build out additional templates for specific tasks or meetings for when you want those to schedule. Or in this case, you can have one-off hours that are specific to that one event instance. So we'll leave it as it is for the default. We have our one-off hours, 11:30 to 2 p.m. That is sort of the range that I am happy to eat lunch in. I don't eat lunch before 11:30, and I don't really want to make time for lunch after 2. So it gives Reclaim a little bit of flexibility around my schedule as it fills up. And then Monday through Friday, I don't need to schedule lunch on the weekends. So leave it as that. You can also add multiple time ranges to a single day for other habits, which again gives you the flexibility to build out a schedule that works best for you. You can build out your frequency, so often you want to make time for this habit. This is a very classic daily habit, but you could make time for things that are monthly or quarterly so they don't slip through the cracks as the year progresses, which is a great way, again, to make sure that you have that on the calendar and that time defended on the calendar in advance as well. You can give Reclaim an ideal time. So we have this time range. Ideally, if it's available, I'd love to have lunch at 12. It's a good time for lunch. And you can set this to be whatever you want it to be. You can also set your habit or event to start at a later date of your choice. In this case, I'm going to leave it as soon as possible so Reclaim can start blocking in lunch ASAP. We have a notes field here, which is great for habits like checking your inbox or updating a report, where you can include a link or to-do list or other little notes for that event that will show up in the actual event in your planner and in Google Calendar, so you have easy access to that. For lunch, I don't really need to add anything here, but that is a great option as well. You have visibility controls. This is how, excuse me, Reclaim will show the event on your calendar to others viewing your calendar. In this case, I'll leave it visible. I'm happy for my team to see when I'm taking a break for lunch, to create that context for why I'm unavailable. But you could also mark it as just a busy block without a description, maybe for those personal habits that you don't want to create too much context for. So in this case, I'll leave it visible. We have time defense settings, which are sort of a spectrum for how aggressively you want Reclaim to defend your habit on the calendar as we work towards a more sophisticated prioritization system that's coming out very soon that we're excited for. This is going to change a little bit, but in this case, it's sort of a spectrum of marking something as always free or always busy, depending on how aggressively you want to defend this event from being overbooked by other things. So I'm going to leave it as a default, more defensive for now, where Reclaim will sort of reserve that block as free initially, and as my calendar books up or as the time draws near for that habit to start, it will automatically flip it to busy and sort of defend it from being overbooked. We have our advanced options as well, where you can CC others for collaborative events. This won't actually inform them when the habit is starting, anything like that, but it allows you to create sort of more collaborative workflow for that. And then we have avoiding duplicate events, which is a neat little feature, which is great for something like lunch. This is already auto filled out, but you can add keywords that Reclaim will scan your calendar for. And if that event is detected, Reclaim will forego the habit instance for that day, because you don't need to have, for example, 2 lunches in one day. Say, if I put in team lunch, I know we already have lunch up there as a keyword, but we have team lunch. If Reclaim sees that on the calendar, it won't schedule lunch for that day because I'm already going out with my team to grab something to eat. So just another neat feature to optimize that whole process. You can also auto decline interruptions, which, like a out of office event, will send someone an update if they do try to schedule over it, for those really important priority habits that you want to make sure you don't get interrupted during. And then you hit save once you've filled out sort of these rules, and Reclaim gets to work in fitting in this habit around everything else on your calendar, and around those preferences that you've set. And here we can see our upcoming events for the habit and when it's scheduled. You can see that it schedules around different times, depending on how busy my calendar is during that time. So October 11th, if we go back to the planner, we'll see that Reclaim has started scheduling lunch starting tomorrow around those preferences that I've set, and around the availability in my calendar otherwise. And you can see that there's a little bit of flexibility if we go to next week, or we can get a better overview. In some cases, Reclaim will have a little bit of less time, where it does the 30 minutes that I sort of set as my minimum. And then on days where I have a little bit more availability, it will schedule a longer lunch habit for that day. So that is an overview of habits. Let me see if I have any questions here for habits. Looking good. Okay. And now I kind of noted on this already in the actual form for building out your habits, but Reclaim uses free busy controls that Google Calendar uses as well to really keep your calendar flexible, so that you can, defend your priorities as they come every week, but stay open to changes and revolving priorities. So in the planner view, you have a really great sort of visual indicator of that, where you have certain events that have a dashed outline, meaning that they're currently marked as free, and are flexible to move around as your calendar changes or as the time draws near. And then you have your events that are solid time blocks, which allow you to see that they're already defined on your calendar and they're not going anywhere. That's sort of the blocked spot for them to secure that time on your calendar around the preferences that you've set for it. So you can use Reclaim entirely in the Reclaim workflow or in this platform. There's also full control in the planner view to move events around. Say this coding habit that I have for next Thursday, I can drag and drop this to a different time. If I wanted to move that around, I can reduce or extend the time that I need for it, and Reclaim will honor that those changes for this instance as sort of your ideal preferred time to do that habit and move everything else around the changes that you've set. You can also use Reclaim in Google Calendar if you've already been using Google Calendar as sort of your main hub for your time blocking and your calendar tool. Reclaim is a bi-directional tool, so any changes that you make in Reclaim automatically update Google Calendar and vice versa. And if we go to Google Calendar, I've just kind of been working in Reclaim up until now, but we'll see that lunch has already started scheduling in Google Calendar as well here. And we have a very similar view here as well. Just like in Reclaim, you can also drag and drop events in Google Calendar and they'll update and Reclaim, extending time, dragging things into the past to mark them as done, dragging things from the past back into the future onto your calendar to tell Reclaim that you actually need more time for it. You have a lot of controls, and Reclaim builds out, your productive weekly plan every week around the priorities that you've set. But it allows you full control to sort of stay on top of things as things are happening. Obviously, you can have a perfect daily plan, but Reclaim allows you to make game time decisions when they do come up. For example, say my webinar ended early and I had a little bit of time to code right now. I could start a habit that's not currently scheduled, and Reclaim will automatically move it to starting now and adapt the rest of my calendar or my smart events around that change. I can stop or restart habits and tasks that aren't currently scheduled. Again, just giving you a little bit more control over how things evolve as the day goes. Let's see if we have any questions. All right. Now, habits, this is sort of a great way to visualize how Reclaim schedules your calendar. And I mentioned sort of the free busy features in the planner. Obviously, in Google Calendar, we don't have that dashed outline. In Google Calendar, Reclaim will add an additional emoji to your events to indicate which ones are free and which ones are busy, shield emoji to mark something as free where it's locked down and secured. And then we have a free emoji that gets added to those events that are currently reserved in that spot, but have a little bit of flexibility to move around. If we go to tasks, this is a sort of similar form for giving Reclaim those rules around how you want to schedule your tasks, but it's a little bit different in that they're not the recurring things that you need to do on a regular basis, but your evolving to-do list. So your projects, the things that you have to get done this week, the tasks that are constantly changing. In a very similar way, you have your task list where you have this whole view here, and you can build out a new task really quickly by hitting a new task in this top bar or by hitting the shortcut C from anywhere in the app, and it will pull up this smaller form that's very similar to the habits form that we saw earlier. You can give Reclaim the title for the task. So let's say I have to finish some slides. I can add an emoji. This is how it will show on my calendar. Tell Reclaim how much time you need for that task. Let's say this is going to take me 2 hours. I can leave it as a 2-hour time block or click split up, in which case Reclaim will sort of break it down before the deadline. When you have a busy calendar, obviously a 2-hour time block might be hard to come by. So I'm going to let this split up with the minimum duration of 30 minutes and the max duration of 2 hours if my calendar has that availability. But again, giving a little bit more flexibility to get it in. I'll leave it as my working hours, but you could make this a personal task or again, have those custom hours set up. I could say that I didn't want to start it until the 24th. And then for the due date, let's say the 31st October, Halloween for that deadline. And then Reclaim will take these rules and start scheduling time for your task around those preferences, just like we saw in habits. And if we take a look at the task details here, we'll see our upcoming events, just like we did for the habits, where Reclaim has fit in this task work around my preferences that I've told Reclaim before the deadline, so that I have actually time to get it done before it's due. And then it will show, just as it does with habits, when it's due. Here you have your task list in the planner as well, where you have your next upcoming event for it. And here we have it seen marked as free because there's a little bit of flexibility before the deadline to fit it in. And again, you can move these around, reschedule them to whenever you wanted them to be. You could start it ahead of time. Again, being in full control of your calendar as you go. So that is tasks in a nutshell. These are prioritizable by due date. So once you have a ginormous task list and you've moved things around a lot, it's really easy to prioritize everything by due date in a single click, where it'll prioritize the things that have the soonest deadlines so that you can always be on top of your priorities. You have your filters up here to see which tasks are open. So that's all of the tasks that you haven't marked as done. You have your scheduled tasks that have upcoming events on the calendar, your done scheduling tasks, which is a great checkpoint for tasks that have sort of run down through the time you said you needed, and are sort of in a limbo to see whether you actually got them done or if you need more time. And then you have your marked done tasks, which is a great overview of all of the work that you've already completed in the past as an overview there. Let's see if we have any questions. All right. So that is your sort of personal priorities, getting your routines and your tasks on the calendar. Habits and tasks are great for that. Reclaim also has collaborative features where you can optimize not only your personal priorities as an individual, but also make collaborative efforts more efficient with your team. The first one is Smart One-on-Ones, which is a great way to optimize your one-on-one meetings, especially if you're a busy manager who's juggling a lot of one-on-one meetings every week. You know that it can be a huge time sink to not only find the time to meet with someone with two busy calendars, but to reschedule it and cancel it if something else comes up. It just ends up being a huge time sink, and Reclaim optimizes this process again by automating the scheduling and finding the best time to connect on both people's busy calendars. So your one-on-ones, if we take a look at the form here, it's going to look very similar to the other ones that we've already walked through. Smart One-on-Ones work with both Reclaim users and non-users, which is awesome. So you can send a one-time email invitation to someone to set up your one-on-one, and Reclaim will do the heavy lifting again of finding time on both people's calendars to get that scheduled. So you just include their email, a description again with links or agendas, giving Reclaim those scheduling rules for how often you want to meet, how long you want to meet for, the frequency, the hours that you want to schedule the meeting in, an ideal day and time. Again, those flexible rules that allow Reclaim to take over the scheduling as sort of your virtual assistant, if you will. You can add video conferencing links or a physical location. And Reclaim does the heavy lifting of finding time to meet. Now, the great thing with Smart One-on-Ones is that it doesn't just find the next best time, it also optimizes the whole process of changes coming up. People get sick, people take PTO, you might just have a lot to do that day. And instead of having to write an email to find another time and having that whole process, you can just go into one of your one-on-one meetings, let's say this one with Kathy, right-click it, and as both the organizer, if it was my Smart One-on-One, or as the attendee, if I was attending one, I can reschedule or skip it in a single click. So let's say I am not going to have time on Thursday to meet with Kathy. I could say another day, and Reclaim will check both people's calendars to find the next best time automatically without the back and forth of finding a time to meet. So you can focus on actually making the meetings productive as opposed to doing the scheduling. And as you can see, that time opened up and Reclaim sort of filled it in with another priority so that you can be on top of all of those changes in your calendar. So that's a sort of overview of Smart One-on-Ones, which is awesome for busy managers. We also have scheduling links, which is one of our newer features that allows you to optimize the booking process for not only your external meetings, but anyone that you want to sort of send your availability to and have them schedule time with you. And there was a couple of problems that we saw with solutions on the market that already exist for sort of a similar process. And that was that it didn't allow for much flexibility and it didn't allow for a lot of availability showing. So if you look at this calendar, obviously we are super busy. There's not a lot of time. If I sent someone, my calendar and said, hey, book a time with me, there's not much for them to go on. Reclaim optimizes this by having a high priority meeting setting where you can send someone a meeting link that not only shows your actual open slots where there's nothing blocked on your calendar, but also shows your tasks, your habits, and your Smart One-on-Ones as available times to really create that availability when you send out meeting links for your most important meetings so that they can actually book a time, that's sooner rather than later to meet with you, without having to go in and manually clear events from your calendar to get that time scheduled. Another feature that Reclaim has that is pretty innovative is that you used to have to sort of make a decision for how long someone needed with you, which not only can be inefficient in terms of getting on your calendar sooner, but also sort of puts pressure on the etiquette of sending someone a scheduling and saying, hey, you get 15 minutes with me, find a time. With Reclaim, you can add up to 3 different durations to a single meeting link. So the invitee can actually choose how long they need with you and compromise to get on your calendar sooner. Obviously, 15 minutes are probably much more available on your calendar than say 45 minutes or an hour. It just gives a little bit more power to the invitee to schedule that time. With scheduling links, there's a lot of controls you can build out groups for specific scheduling links that you wanted to send for specific instances, whether that was different clients or different side gigs. You can have scheduling links that you send out for just a single booking link or a booking page if you wanted to have them to have opportunities. You can embed these booking forms on your website if you do consulting or something like that to have an easy scheduling process. And just allowing a lot of flexibility, again, a little bit more power to not only you and how you schedule your meetings, but also to the invitees that are finding time on your calendar with you, just optimizing that process. Now, going back to tasks, another thing that makes Reclaim really easy to work with, and this is a big thing with Reclaim, is that it's not supposed to sort of substitute anything that you already use, but is rather supposed to fit into the workflow and the tools that you're already using. And Reclaim has integrations with multiple platforms that allow you to sync over tasks from your task management platforms like Jira, Todoist, Linear, ClickUp, and Asana. You can sync Reclaim with Slack to automatically update your Slack status to your calendar to create, again, that context with your team to show when you're in a meeting or taking your lunch break or working on something, again, to create a little bit more context for what you're busy with and what those priorities look like. We also have a Raycast integration for our Mac users that gives a little bit more of sort of a quick desktop functionality and a workflow for Reclaim where you can join meetings from your toolbar at the top of your Mac and create tasks on the go really quickly with shortcuts. So again, just allowing you to optimize your scheduling, not only by using Reclaim, but by integrating it with all of the tools that you're already using. If you are using Reclaim in Google Calendar, even if you have a free account, we have a Google add-on that allows you to view Reclaim's sidebar through Google Calendar as this little icon here once you have it installed, where you have sort of a similar view to that in the planner with your habits, starting and stopping habits, creating new tasks from the sidebar, and just allowing you to manage your calendar day-to-day in Google Calendar if that's what you prefer. And it also automatically updates to in Gmail, where you have another icon here to automatically insert your scheduling links or a custom link off your scheduling links directly to an email for just quick sharing when you do want to schedule a meeting with someone. I know that we are running up on time here, so if there are any questions, I haven't seen any come in. There's a Q&A section. Feel free to drop those in if there's anything that I haven't covered that you would like to see. Obviously, this is a sort of high-level overview of the features. You have your settings in here where you can actually set up your integrations with those platforms that I've mentioned. You can build out your hours that we talked about through those forms, as well as defaults for your task settings. And your buffer time and breaks, which is another great feature from Reclaim to not only schedule, the things that you have to get done, but also allowing you to schedule breaks throughout the day and decompression time after your meetings so that you can be productive, not only in the sense of getting stuff done, but also taking time for yourself to reset, take notes, and prepare for your next event. Stats, our beta stats are also a great way to see where your time goes every week. You have your personal stats where you have productivity and work-life balance metrics to take a look at so you can better plan your work weeks and, fine-tune Reclaim for those settings, as well as your team stats. If you have your team built out in Reclaim, this is sort of an averaged view of where your team's time goes every week without overstepping on sort of personal data, being able to see and better optimize the priorities that your team has week after week or in certain time ranges. All of your account settings, as well as building out your team, is in the billing and team settings right here in the top right corner of your account settings, where you can invite people to your team and build that out as well. Let me see, any questions? Yes, let's talk about syncing real quick. I know we're at time, but we'll give it a couple more minutes. Calendar sync is a fantastic way to sync your multiple calendars if you are juggling multiple schedules across different corporate identities or your personal and work calendars. You can set up syncs with Reclaim that allow you to actually copy events to a primary calendar across your different calendars so that you can better manage your time in a more realistic way. Across the time that you do have. Obviously, you could have 17 different calendars, but you still have the same amount of time every week. And allowing that to schedule to a primary calendar gives you a better overview of what your availability actually looks like. So you can set up syncs here in the calendar sync tab, which is really simple. It is a one-direction sync. So say if you had a personal calendar that you wanted to sync to your work calendar, you could block out personal events on your work calendar. And again, you have settings here for how you want those events to show to others viewing your calendar, say a personal commitment for your personal calendar so that people don't see that you're, I don't know, have a doctor's appointment or a personal event that you have, and you have those settings there as well. And you can build out as many syncs as you want. Those are varied by plan that you're on, but it allows you to sync as many Google Calendars as you have to make sure that your time is appropriately dedicated to where you are available across your different schedules. So Calendar Sync is a great way to set that up. We also have fantastic help docs, which you can access through this help button on each page. We have a help center that is full of detailed walkthroughs of each of the features and getting set up for success there with different use cases. We also have connected calendars, which functions a little bit differently than Calendar Sync, which actually copies those events to a primary calendar. Connected calendars, where you can similarly add your connected calendars, allows Reclaim to sort of scan your availability across calendars, but doesn't actually copy them to a primary calendar. So you can leave, for example, your work calendar open to collaboration, but Reclaim won't schedule your tasks, habits, and smart one-on-ones when you are busy across different calendars. So hopefully that gives a little bit of an overview of Calendar Sync there. That's a great question. And a very powerful tool, especially if you're juggling multiple calendars, which can get super exhausting. All right, I'll give it another minute if anyone else has any questions. Like I said, we have a great help center. Another great resource is the setup guide, which is up here in the top panel, where you can view your onboarding progress and walk through all of the things that I've talked about today in more detail, getting set up with each of the features, learning things about tools that you're not already using, and getting a little bit of an overview of how you can optimize each feature with Reclaim. So that's all set up in the setup guide, which is in everyone's account if you do get signed up. So that's it on time. I'm grateful for everyone that joined us today. We also have a YouTube channel where we have tons of videos covering a lot of the similar content, as well as weekly tips for making sure that you're getting the most out of Reclaim. I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll break here. But thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. This video or this webinar will be on demand on our YouTube channel, so you can go check it out there if you wanted to review anything. Otherwise, the team is always here to support you if you run into bugs or issues in the app, where you can just reach out to them. We also recently launched an affiliate program where you can join to share Reclaim and gain revenue from your referrals, which is a great place to check out as well if you are loving Reclaim. We've had a lot of users ask us for an affiliate program, so we're excited to be launching that now as well. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your Tuesday. And I will maybe see you on our next webinar or on YouTube and social. My name is Elizabeth. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.